Hi, everyone. My name is Dame DC Cordova, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience that we had technical difficulties and it ended up being me. And as we say in Hawaii, there are some little mini Hunies that were in my computer, and here we are live again with Dominic. Dominic, thank you for your patience. This is why we've been working together for so many decades. My God, it's going to be 25 years soon. And thank you so very much. So today we're going to continue with our Money and You Distinction series, where we have an opportunity to be able to interview some great masters. There's so many different distinctions in the Money and You program that has been presented since way back in 1979 was the first time that the program was started. Money and You was a leftover from the Accelerated Business School for Entrepreneurs, which at the time used to be 6 weeks long. And so there are some fantastic principles and teachings, and it's all taught through experiential games. 65% of the program is games, and then there's the debrief, and there is a whole logistical system. And of course, our instructors are awesome entrepreneurs. All of them are different. They all have different strengths. And Dominique Lyone has been with us the longest. He attended Money and You in 1988. He attended the business school in 1989, and then he led his first program solo in 1992. And thank God for our instructors training, because as usual, as it happens, I think to every new instructor, his first program was with some of the wealthiest people in Singapore. And even though he was really successful already, his company was trading already, I believe, was bringing in revenues of about 6 million a year. There were some amazing people in that room that he had an opportunity to really practice everything he had learned in the instructor's training program. Now, fast forward to 23 years later, and he is still our leading instructor for the English Business School for Entrepreneurs. And of course, for our English Money and You program, along with Kerry Zurier and other instructors. And then there's a whole other Chinese side, which, by the way, Dominic, I was just with Wilson, and I'm going to be seeing him again tomorrow morning. And again, he says, thank you. Thank you. You are forever his Money and You instructor. And he's, bigger, so huge in the Chinese in the whole Chinese industry of transformational work. We have been in China now for 16 years. There's been so many companies that have come and gone. Anyway, so today what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce you to Dominic. I want him to give you a little bit of his background. I love his immigrant story in many ways. His family emigrated from Egypt to Australia. And then he'll share a little bit about his background, and we'll have a conversation of one of our favorite topics in Money and You, which is leverage and some other principles. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera on you, Dominic. Hi.
Hi, DC. How are you?
I'm so happy to be with you and to hear
We're on.
Yay. So
I think it's all working. It's all working good.
Yes, it is. So Dominic, give us a little bit about your background, a little bit like how you share in Money and You, but just share with the group. There's a lot of people that watches the Hangout that have never attended the program, and they follow me around the world and want to know about the people that I love.
Okay. Well, I think as you already said, I was born in Egypt and lived there until I was 13. And at that time, you could say there were political turmoil, some fanaticism going on, a revolution going on. These days, I like to say to people, we left Egypt some 3 revolutions ago. They continue to have revolutions there every decade or so. But we emigrated to what we thought was the promised land back then, and some significant things happened to me. One of the biggest things that I remember clearly is that as the ship was now arriving to Australia, we came in through the western part of Australia. 2 days out at sea, a tug came and pulled up alongside the mothership, and some people in suits got on board. We eventually found out that they were representative of a local bank. It was probably the greatest marketing exercise I've ever experienced in my life. There was a whole bunch of new customers coming to the land, and they came on to offer us to open up accounts. And I remember clearly the turmoil, the anxiety that my father was going through about our future life, and we didn't really have any money to open this account. However, we had $1 left from this 45-day journey that we have been on. That is all the money that we had in the world. And my father decided after this long meeting with the family, my mother and my sister, that we would tomorrow morning get up and open this bank account. I realized many years later in various work that I've done in checking out through my past that incident has been the driving force behind me. It's been, for me, how far can I make that dollar go to? Since came to, as I said, we came to Australia, great place to live, and got married to a beautiful Australian woman, had kids, and had the beautiful house and the picket fence and the pool and the cat and the dog, and everything seems to be quite good, at least on the outside, but inside there were many things missing, and things started to break down a little bit in that part of my life. The marriage split up, and some great individual, Veronica, out of Toronto, suggested that I should do this program called Money and You. Well, my ego was very high at the time. I thought I was already in business. I had a little business, albeit it was probably going broke, but I never really wanted to admit that to anybody. And I said to her, look, I really know everything there is about money. I don't need any more help in that area. But she enticed me slowly to go and have the courage to do this. It took me about 6 months. And as a program, now that when I look back at my life, it's been, I can pinpoint to it and say it was a turning point that has made the biggest difference in my life. Of all the various things I've done. I've done many educational programs, but Money and You was a foundational program to me in going on a journey of personal development and more actually self-discovery, to the point where I believe beyond the shadow of any doubt, really, that ultimately your greatest personal leverage is self-discovery. The more you get to know about who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you react and so on in life is quite measurable in your success. So I do this Money and You program. I come out very pumped and ready to change many things in my life. And as I said, I went on this journey of doing lots of personal development. My statistics started to change a little bit, but I think the big thing that happened to me was that as I hanged out with other instructors and so on, the same question and the same statement kept coming back to Dominique, and that was, Dominique, when are you going to play a bigger game? You're playing it too small. And from a business perspective, the biggest word, which I can still remember my instructor telling me, how are you going to leverage? How are you going to leverage? How are you going to leverage? And until that point of my life, my business was simply a way of me making an income. If you like, replacing a job. So I used to work for a company. I now do it for myself. As long as I can make a little bit more or equal to what I was doing working for the man, if I could do that for myself, I'd be quite happy. So if you like, in money and you term, I had a comfortable little niche. And Money and You started to really expose me of how do I leverage that niche? What are you going to do to leverage that niche? And That's effectively what I've now been working on for the last 25 years or so, and got that business from, as you said, DC, relatively small business back then. As I said, going broke, about $500,000 in losses, to what we've got today, which is Australia's largest privately owned office products company, with about 350 employees and revenues of about 120 million. And what eventually, effectively, what we do here is that what I want to have a little joke with people, I say I sell pens and pencils. But really what we're doing is that we're creating amazing solutions, distribution solutions and procurement solutions for very large corporate companies, whether they be corporate or whether they be government. Recently, we've just been awarded a very large contract for the whole of the Victorian government.
Wow.
So if you're in Victoria or Melbourne and you work for the government, your supplies are going to come from us. The single biggest contract ever awarded to an independent player.
Now,
so I guess that's a little bit of the background.
Was that the day when you had the $1 million day? Was that the day you got that contract?
No, that was a different day. That was a different day. So that was recently. I took a 3-week holiday, which has been a little bit unusual in my life, I guess, because I tend to not be away for any more than 1 or 2 weeks. But my 11-year-old son had a 3-week break, and we decided he should meet his family in Italy. So we took off for 3 weeks, and part of that was the last week of the financial year. And I did my best to stay away from the emails and stay separated, but I couldn't help quickly logging in to see what was happening on the last week of the year. And we had a record week. Here I was
Yes.
cycling through Tuscany, going up and down hills on this beautiful bike that was provided to me there. And back at the office, they had just had their biggest day in the history of the business, and that's selling $1 million of pens and pencils in a single day.
Wow. Now your children, your daughters are the ones that are now running the business, starting to take over. Can you tell us a little bit about your family legacy? Because people want to know about those things.
Well, I have 3 children, 2 girls from my first marriage, Belinda and Amy, who are now in their early 30s, and very, very clever girls. They both work in the business. They both have general management position, handling significant pieces of the business. Amy handles all of customer service and anything to do with distribution throughout the country. Belinda handles anything to do with marketing or procuring throughout the world. Now setting up to take the business forward. It's ultimately my desire, if you like, my dream, to have the office supplies name or the office product name in Australia linked to my family name. That's a lot to do with my upbringing in Egypt. In Egypt, my father was a typewriter mechanic. He had a little shop in Alexandria, about 3 meters by 3 meters, or 12 foot by 12 foot was the size of this business. So I didn't go too far. He was in a typewriter business. I went into the office product business, which is kind of
Yeah.
similar field. So we're planning to hand over to the girls in years in probably in the next 5 years or so.
Fantastic.
The young boy who's 11 years old. He's busy going to school and having lots of fun. So God knows what he'll do with his future. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's got the entrepreneurial blood as well.
So, Dominic, can you tell us some of the, well, I always, people want to know, why is it that you're still continuing to teach business school and Money and You? And, every once in a while, somebody will start a rumor that it's your last one or something. I guess they're encouraging people to attend the next program that you're going to be leading. But I know that how much you get out of teaching. And, I think once we get started in this work, we'll probably take our last breath in front of a beautiful room with beautiful entrepreneurs learning from us. Can you share with people why is it that you continue to teach this work? What are the benefits for you?
Well, I mean, it's I decided that I guess how I got onto the path of being an instructor was never my plan to be an instructor. My plan back then was to be a student, but I got invited to the instructor's training program, which at the time was led in Western USA, and I attended that with probably another 15 people who had been on the program for a while. And during that 3-day, it occurred to me that this may be what I was meant to be doing. It seemed during the processes and games that we were playing and so on, that I probably had some talent, in ready-made talent to put to this. So yourself, DC, your partner at the time decided, as you probably remember, fast track me through to begin the whole Money and You movement, if you like, in Asia. And this was back in '92. So lots of learning, lots of support from a lot of people for an instructor to get up. I really didn't think I would get up, to be fully honest with you. But what I loved the most about being on the program was that for an instructor, for a Money and You instructor to be in front of the room, they kept saying they needed to earn the right. They needed to earn the right from a business perspective, and they needed to earn the right at a personal level. And that really was my goal, much bigger than ever leading Money and You. It was the person that I needed to be able to lead this program. It turned out I ended up leading it. And of course, when I first led it, I ended up doing way too many Money and Yous, and got overstretched and screamed and yelled, as I still do with DC every now and again, to not scheduling me too much. However, I can put my hand on my heart and say that the benefit for me from Money and You has been the repetition of the work. Every time I go into a Money and You, I learn myself. And I've heard it said many times right now, and I can vouch for it to be true for me, that if you really want to learn something, then become a teacher of it, and you learn it in a whole new level of depth. And that's been my benefit. It was never something that I intended to do. It was never a money play. It was, I have this God-given talent. It's wrong if I don't put it to use. Buckminster Fuller, who is our ultimate master of Money and You, it's where a lot of the philosophy came from, says very clearly that you may never know your significance of what your life is really about, but if you take your talent and turn that to the greatest advantage of other people, then you're probably on the right track. So with that in mind, Money and You gave me the platform to be able to share my talent, my knowledge, and go around the world and lead this program.
So, Dominic, what would you? So there's quite a few entrepreneurs that are watching this and will be watching, and we love Google Hangouts. They sit there on Google and are going to be watched for many years to come. What would you say to an entrepreneur that's considering attending the program? Why should they go? I mean, and it's just from your point of view on what has been the most valuable thing that you can recommend to them.
Look, I think when I initially did it, and as I said already, I've been around the work for 25 plus years. Today, to absolutely succeed in today's world, one of the key things is that you need to work on your EQ, or your emotional intelligence, if you like. That's kind of the current term for it. We never used to call it that 25 years ago, but it's a key to succeeding today. Another key to succession today is to be an authentic leader. An authentic leader is one that has a very high EQ. When I look at the core of what I got from Money and You, it really got my EQ higher. If you like, I could put it this way, that before attending Money and You and the ongoing development I did from then on, you had Dominique, the business person, and Dominique, the individual. It was almost like, if you like, in my house, if I was in the lounge room, I was one person, and then if I turned and went into the dining room, I was another person. And Money and You sort of helped me see that there's one person, and tear those walls down. So that's on a personal level. At the end of the day, it's called Money and You, and it's very clear to me that people get attracted by the word money, and that's fair enough. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, including myself. But the you part in the program is every bit as important. In fact, for me, it was the you part, working on the you part, that eventually led to the money. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, if you're running a business today, you get Money and You is about generalized principle, just like gravity is. If it goes up, it's going to come down. There is generalized principles on the planet, which Buckminster Fuller did an amazing job in documenting. If you get to understand those generalized principles at a deeper level, which is fundamentally what Money and You is about, then decision-making in business accelerates. And if you're in business, like I know, that it's really about decision-making, and the more making decisions and hopefully getting 55% of them right. So one of the things you get from Money and You and understanding the generalized principle, it helps you to quickly sort out what to say no to. And that, there's certain languaging that we come in with, like, successful people play from 4 foot. When you get to play that game and you get to experience that game, you get to understand what that is. That has enabled me to quickly say no, because at the end of the day, a business person is probably going to learn to have to say no 50 times to yes once. So if you can spend less time on those 50s, you get to the one yes a lot quicker.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, you are all the different Money and You instructors, including, Wilson Lin of doers.ca and the Chinese programs. We were talking about, he actually moved away. He was leading a lot of business schools and leading some other programs and major programs. The Chinese network is very big. And we were having this conversation. He's actually going back to teaching quite a few Money and You's. And he has been missing it and just decided that he's going to go back. And I think next year he's going to be leading like 20 of them. And it's going through a whole other level. And you would think, okay, he's been doing it for so long, 16 years, he's going to do something else. And we were having this conversation about, what are his favorite pieces? What can you share with an entrepreneur? And, and some of the business lessons for him have been that, we churn out social entrepreneurs. And in many ways, sometimes we even churn out our own competition. It's like people come to the program and have a discovery about themselves and then decide that they're going to continue teaching or do something similar to ours. It's never quite the same as ours. But one of the things that people want to know for, like, you are great on the second night, and we won't go through the game, but there is a piece that you teach on leverage that you are a master at, and without going into the whole teaching piece of Money and You, can you share some of the key things that you have applied to your life related to leverage and Money and You?
Okay, so interesting about what you say about Wilson and him going back to teach Money and You. I think the languaging, as Buckminster Fuller would say, is very, very important. I don't think Money and You is something that Wilson or I teach. Money and You is something that Wilson and I lead.
Yes.
So it's not really a kind of, I'm going to give you lectures and you're going to take notes and become a millionaire tomorrow. The part of the leading part then becomes that I'm as much a student as what the class is. I get a big advantage in that class because I get to see behavior in the class. I get to understand how the world really works. So that's why the games is a piece of ingenuity. It is just genius, the people that came up with that stuff. And I do understand a lot of, some of that came from Marshall. And the game on Friday night is in no doubt in my mind the best business game on the planet today. I do know for a fact that at least 3 PhDs have been written on that game. So that game is pure, absolute business, absolute money-making business. And fundamentally, if you like, the setup is on the evening, there's $1 million to be made in the room. That's what's at stake in the space. So we open up this space for perhaps an hour or so with $1 million on the table, and you begin, from my perspective, I begin to watch human behavior and see how they go about it. It's interesting that in the 20 plus years that I've been leading this program and leading that game particularly, that a very small number of people ever actually get to the winner's circle. Why? I keep looking at it and go, why? Why so few? And ultimately, it's because we're often blinded by the simplicity of business. Business is actually not that difficult. but we tend to make it overly difficult, and we begin to create these filters within us that keep saying it's difficult. Part of that is probably because my dad said, you've got to work really, really, really hard if you're going to be successful, and a whole bunch of things like that. So there's $1 million in front of another 120 people when I do this Money and You again in October, and I would take a bet that less than 5 people will see it. So you got to go, if that's the case, that's actually the same thing as the real world outside, because if you go outside, and we've got 7 billion people on this planet right now, there's probably only really 5% who do business, who see business. So the game is designed for you to get the generalized principle and begin to open your eyes to what is available in the world. That's, by the way, the game in which we talk about niche and talk about leverage. So part of my learnings from the game is, identifying your niche. And your niche is going to be different to my niche. I'm excellent in the office product industry. I know that game backwards. DC, the program, the seminar world better than anybody else on the planet. I could never do what you do, and I think you'd never know what I do. And part of the game, in a generic way, gets you to look in and see, what is your game? What is your own game? And how do you then leverage that? Because you can have a nice little game in a suburb and be quite happy with that, which is kind of where I started in this game. I just wanted to make enough money to have a decent house and a decent car, and be able to occasionally take a holiday with my family. And Money and You made me see that there is a much, much bigger game to play. And interestingly enough, by the way, with that bigger game and the bigger money, there's so much more significance that you could be making on the planet than having my old little local business.
Thank you. And can you just share with us some distinctions that you have learned, whether at Money and You or the business school? I know you get a lot out of teaching the business school too. I know how much you love that. But can you share some distinctions, maybe 3 or 5 things around money itself? Because I have watched you. I watched some of the processes that have occurred for you, and then how you have manifested. And there is, sometimes people think that when you have the level of success that you have, and congratulations, not only your financial success, but the success that you have with your family. Your ex-wife worked in the business until she retired, the mother of your girls, and worked alongside with your wife and current wife. I mean, there's so many aspects of your life that are very successful, and it's admirable, because I know you have worked very hard on yourself. But can you just share, for those people that haven't done Money and You yet, some specific things that you can share with them about money itself? Sometimes we kind of separate money, and we know that it's all part of the big picture. But if you can just maybe just give some habits, some hints, what worked for you to amass the level of wealth that you have?
Well, I guess the study of money is different again to Money and You. I went out and endeavored to understand what this thing money is. Certainly, the business generates money, and then you got to figure out what to do with that money, and how to grow that money in other areas. So there's a number of things that I've learned one thing is that money is something that a human being can create, and my truth is, the more of it you end up giving away, the more of it you create, and hence us creating what the Lyone Foundation, which is completely set up just to give money away to charity. So 15% of all money generated within any of our ventures or any of our businesses goes to the foundation, for the foundation to then find human welfare and so on that we focus on in Australia. Money. The other thing about money is that I became in my early years. I began to really respect money. I have a very high level of respect for money. A great master once told me, you got to treat money like a beautiful woman. You got to respect her. You got to respect money. If you're loose with your money, then money's going to be loose with you. So I'm quite, I've learned to be quite frugal where I need to be. There's some areas of my life where I love to play. A key part of one of the programs, one of your programs, in fact, DC, Creating Wealth, taught me that I needed to pay myself first. A key thing that people on the planet don't really realize is that the majority of the population on the planet work for money. And if you look at the habits of wealthier people, if you like, or rich people, you'll learn that they are working to create wealth rather than money. A key beginning of that is to get into the habit of paying yourself first. And what I've been practicing this for well over 25 years, where a percentage of everything I make comes back to me first. Interestingly enough, I have that discussion sometimes with business people, particularly people who have smaller businesses, and they go, "Well, all my money is in the business." That's well and good, and I need to keep my money in the business because that's and so on, and that's great. But just like anything else, that business could one day just fail, and out goes your life savings. So I was told by an instructor once, you've got to put your hand into that pot and pay yourself first. And it's very difficult at the beginning because there's some bills you can't pay because you've just paid yourself, and you might not be able to pay your phone bill. But it's been a key part of my wealth creation habit.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. Anything else?
I think the other huge lesson, I think, from a business perspective, that I like to tell people in business is that the majority of us in business, at least in small businesses, spend a lot of our time working inside the business, the doingness of the business. And a huge lesson is that I learned from a gentleman called Michael Gerber, who wrote a great book called The E-Myth. Great read, by the way. And he talked about working on the business versus working in the business. And when I really began to understand what that meant, because you do tend to think that you're working on the business all day, every day. But really, the majority of people are actually working in it. creating the product, or delivering the product, or delivering the consultancy, or whatever it is that you do, but beginning to work on it, enabling the business to do other things, getting rid of constraint that are holding the business back. These are the sort of things that are working on the business. These days, the size of the business we have, I do my best to inspire my managers and the executive teams and middle managers to spend at least 25% of their time working on their department or their division rather than being in it on a daily basis. That's made a significant difference to growing it. It's really a key to leverage.
So that also, and that kind of takes us to the next thing, which is, and we'll be wrapping it up here soon, but one of the things that I know you're really big at is systems, leadership, management. So those were some of the keys that you shared there. Any other thing that you would like to share with the audience?
Look, I think if you're in business and you want a big business, you can be absolutely, you will not be able to do it without other people. So understanding your leadership styles and being able to lead from the front, lead authentically becomes crucial. You could have I guess you could have a very big business and work on your own if you're like a day trader. Great. That is one way to do that. But really, the majority of big businesses are going to have lots of people attached to it. That's really how the planet works from my perspective. So understanding your leadership style, understanding who you are, will always make you a better leader. Systems is another key component to growing a business. A business, in fact, in my mind, is nothing else other than a series of business linked together. And I have a little bit of a chuckle to myself every now and again when I speak to people about system, and they say, "Oh yeah, I have a great system in my place. It runs like absolute clockwork. My system is Jackie." I learned that lesson in thankfully very early in the business, that I had a great warehouse system, and his name was Ron. And Ron came to me one day and said, "Dom, your competitor down the road has offered me 50% more than you, and I'm going to go and work for him. I've got to do the right thing by my family." And I completely agreed with him. I couldn't afford to pay him that money at the time. Some people say I probably should have, but really, I think it was the great spirit looking after me, getting the lesson. Ron walked out on Friday afternoon. I didn't even think it was a problem. I said, "Goodbye, Ron," shook his hand and all this. And by Tuesday, the business had stopped. We were shipping nothing because we didn't know where anything was in that DC. Only Ron knew. So we paid very, very, very heavily for that lesson. And today, everything is systemized, whether it's how we ship something, how we deliver something, whether it's how we hire somebody, whether it's how we build a chair, or whatever it is that we do, everything is systemized. I invite anybody to come and visit our business in Sydney, visit our head office. We've got an amazing site here, and many new people have come to visit. I can take you into our warehouse, and within 15 minutes bit of training, you become an expert at what we do in our house, in our system.
Thank you. So is there anything you would like to say to people about Money and You, inviting them, last few words about why should they attend Money and You? Why, besides of hanging out with people like you, because it's the great thing, we have such an amazing network, and And you become so available to people. I really appreciate the way you just let people write to you, connect with you. You're so supportive, and sometimes you take in young entrepreneurs and guide them through years. And you have been so generous with your time and being such an awesome mentor. Is there anything that you would like to say to someone that hasn't had a desire to attend Money and You, but why should they attend?
Money and You, in my 20, 25 years plus association with it, appears to you at a time in your life when it's probably right for you to be doing it. So if somehow you've been now exposed to Money and You, you've had a friend or two talk to you about this program, there's probably something inside you that it's time for you to resolve. It's time for you to grow to another level. Sure, your ego is going to come back and say, no, I don't need to do this. I know everything that there is to know, and all this. But if deep in your being, you want to grow and play a bigger game on this planet, and God only knows we need more leaders and more people on the planet to make a greater difference, then the investment of 3.5 days of your life will set you on a amazing journey of making a difference, because ultimately what the work is really about is creating more entrepreneurs that make a bigger difference on the planet. The planet needs a lot of work done. Bucky said it very, very, very well. He said human beings have been put on the planet to solve the planet's problems. That's why we've got the brain size that we have. We're here to solve the problems of the planet. So the more problems you solve, you get rewarded by getting a bigger problem. So the quicker you get your education and get to understand these generalized principles that apply to whatever. The generalized principle apply to whatever, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your relationship with the employees, or your relationship with your dog. They're generalized principle, and that's the benefit of being in a room of Money and You. So I think that's the best way I can put it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I am so appreciative, of you coming in and being patient with me and all of our little technical difficulties, the little mini-hunies that were coming into the system. And I want to thank you, as I always do, for the many years of love and support and your awesome teaching. And there will be many decades, I'm sure, that Dominic will continue to teach. He loves this work. And before we finish up, is there anything you'd like to share about your family? I mean, people really love the way you share your heart during the programs, and so do all the instructors. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I was just told, and I've been so busy, that Andrew just had a really big breakthrough with his mother, even though he attended another program, because we love our instructors to go learn so much. And I was hearing about our young instructor now, Andrew, that is sharing his heart, so authentic. And just really, this is the thing about Money and You instructors that I love so much, that you guys really get to be so authentic in your lives. And we love your family, we love your wife and your young son and of course, your other children, and the way that you live your life. Is there anything you'd like to share with people about that? Because I know that some alpha males out there sometimes kind of like to keep that separate, but what would you like to share with people about your family life and how much that has meant to you to be able to be a good father, a good husband?
I think, I mean, to me, I have a, a set of values like everybody else, and family is at the absolute top of my values. So I I'm a family person before I'm anything else, and I'm very lucky in that department right now, that I've got two beautiful young girls that have now got their own children. So I'm living my life at the moment where I'm a father to three great children, one of them being 11. So that's daily work. And then I've got my two girls who both have two children each. So I'm a four times grandfather right now. So I'm very much enjoying that part of my life. It takes work. It takes things to do. Like, one of the things that we do as a family, as a ritual, is that on long weekends, or at least a couple of times a year, we get together as a family and go and have a retreat somewhere. We just spend time with each other. It's in the diary. We know where we're going next time around, and that just gets us away from the hustle and bustle of daily life, and gets us back into our love for each other. I live life like everybody else. My first appointment this morning was a teacher-parent meeting for my son, and he's doing quite well. But interesting enough, back to my learnings of Money and You, a little while last term, I think he came home with a scorecard that I was not really overly pleased with, and it became quite clear to me that really part of that problem was something in me had to change. I was not paying enough attention to it. It was easy to say to young Casimir, "Hey, buddy, you got to get out there and work work harder." But one of the things that Money and You would say to me was that, for things to change first, I must change. So I looked at that scorecard and said, what is it about me that needs to change? And I needed to obviously spend more time with him and give him more support. So I do think that family's everything. Family's everything, and that both my mom and dad have now passed, and that's been, we went through those times a few years ago. So it's now my job to take that lead as the head of that family.
Thank you. And thank you again, Dominic, for having hosted me in your beautiful home. Oh my God, I had so much fun with you and the family. I still miss that Lebanese food. There's just no other place in the world, I'm sure, except in Lebanon, that has better Lebanese food than Sydney.
You'll be back in Sydney, sure.
So go to Cleveland Street for me one of these days. I'll be back to Sydney soon. So I wanted to thank everyone for your time. Thank you, Dominic, and give my love to the family. And thank you to your team with all the support a little bit earlier. And so, you go to moneyandyou.com and look at all the different schedule. We're so happy we're returning to Australia and to Sydney early October, and Dominique will be leading that program. But all Money and You instructors are fantastic, and we'll be interviewing all of them, as many as we can. And so thank you everyone for coming in. I really hope that these different distinctions that Dominic shared with you will make a difference to you. If you have any questions, you can always go to info@moneyandyou.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. And of course, you can find Dominic on Facebook, LinkedIn, if you would like to connect with him. And of course, you can also find me at Dame DC Cordova, DC Cordova. You know how to find all of us. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful life. I'll connect with all of you soon, and we'll see you somewhere in the world. Thank you, Dom. Aloha.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.